Hey everyone, I'm Bibi, and in this video I'm going to show you how I get my Sims 2 neighborhoods to look from this to this with a complete graphics overhaul, custom content and mods. I'll tell you all about the essential mods and custom content I use for a beautiful looking game, and generally what I always do these days to make the environment of The Sims 2 look immersive and like you're really playing in an open world. This was a highly requested video, so I hope you guys will find it useful, and of course, you'll find links to all of the stuff I use in this game in a Pinterest board that I have prepared for you guys, so you can check out all of the amazing CC creators and download all of the goodies in one place. I thought the best way to do this is to see it in practice, so we're here in Veronaville. This is the vanilla hood that I'll be renovating for my Max's Lot renovation series, if you're keeping up with that. But I haven't done anything to this hood so far, so how about we start the decoration process together? Now, just as a disclaimer, I have all of the expansion and stuff packs installed, so some of these items might not be compatible if you don't have the full game. Please read the description of every mod or custom content object before you install it to make sure it works for you correctly. Thank you for your patience, and let's get into the video. The first thing you might notice is that the lighting and colors in my game definitely look more vivid and lively. Well, that's because I use a mod for this. I've tried several mods in the past, but the one I use right now is the Max's Match lighting mod by Dread Pirate. I like this mod because over the years I've settled for a much more Max's Matchy aesthetic for my game, and also this download includes other fixes that I deem essential for the overall looks of the game in general. If you don't want to use this light replacement mod, however, I still recommend getting some of the smaller mods that are included in it as a separate download. For instance, the Better Nightlife mod by Cricket. This one is essential for many of the hood deco items that I'll be using in this hood decoration video. It basically gives many hood deco objects an effect with glowing lights at nighttime, which is so beautiful and immersive. Next up is Skyfix by Nokke. You absolutely need this one if you want the skies in your game to look good and not broken and glitchy. Additionally, you need the Skyfix mod if you want to properly see your neighborhood skyboxes and horizons while you're playing on lots. Read the description of this one because it comes in different versions depending on which expansion packs you have installed. You might also want the mod that allows hood decorations to be placed anywhere, including on lots, because sometimes you might just want your hood deco trees, rocks, fences and so on to overlap with a house, which is impossible without this mod. Again, read the details to find if you need all of the files before you download them. And one last thing before we start decorating, and this is very important, okay? Don't skip this step. In a vanilla game, you cannot scroll and see the edge of the map you're playing on. You're limited to only using the middle area, and you cannot properly rotate or zoom in, which makes decorating very, very difficult. That's why you need the neighborhood camera rotation mod. I currently use the gun mod camera, which is a pretty old school download, but I'm probably going to switch to either of these two pretty soon because they fix all of the annoying vanilla limitations and you can go wild and flip the camera in all directions. There are more mods that we can talk about, but I think these are the absolute essentials and will be enough to get you started with beautifying your hoods properly. Right, now let's move to some custom content items. The first thing you might want to download is the default replacement for the terrain and roads of your hoods. Now what you're seeing right now is the vanilla road. I don't use the default replacement roads at the moment, but I've changed the terrain textures, and these are by Curious Bee. Again, this is a super old download. I'll link to their original post where you can read the full description, but the download links won't work. However, their creations are available on SimFileShare, which I will also link if you want to download them and get your hoods looking exactly like this. I've used these texture replacements by Curious Bee for very many years, but I also really like the Rural Charm set by Cricket, and I might fully switch to this one sometime in the future. This set is a replacement only for grass hoods, but other than terrain and road replacements, it contains a ton of extra deco items as well, so read through all of that and decide if you prefer this look better. Just as a reminder, if you didn't know this already, but you cannot have more than one default replacement item for a thing in your game. Like, let's say we have Pleasant View and Veronaville, which are both grassy hoods. They have to have the same road texture. They cannot have two different ones. If you want to have two different road textures in Pleasant View and Veronaville, you'll have to keep two files separately and manually switch which one is in your downloads folder before you load the game. Otherwise, it just won't work. This would be quite annoying for regular gameplay, so when you're picking a default replacement for anything, whether it's the road, textures, hair, items, whatever it is, just pick something you are sure you really like. Okay, back to the hood decoration. Another thing you might have noticed is that some of the trees in my hood look quite different. That's because I'm using these default replacements by Cricut, who I've mentioned already. Just as I said, you cannot have more than one default replacement in your game for each object, so choose wisely. I like these because they're close enough to the original Sims 2 look, but I'll also link to these 4:2 trees if you prefer this sort of aesthetic. In general, I recommend checking out the rest of Cricut stuff because they have created a ton of hood deco objects that I regularly use in my game, and you'll absolutely want to have them all for yourself. So we've got our mods, changed our terrain textures, and now it's time for deco placements. The main thing that is going to make our hood look amazing is the skyline. I mainly use these, but I have included many more in the Pinterest board so you can pick and choose whatever you want for yourself. To place the horizon, you have to go to any corner of the map you choose, and that is why you need a camera mod. The views from different angles of the hood will change depending on which corner you pick, but I'm not picky. Go in the corner, click on your skyline, and rotate with your mouse, or these keys on your keyboard, until you position the little triangle to point towards the corner of the map in this direction. Click to place it down, and you're done. We now have an amazing view. Right, so we've put a skyline, and now Veronoville looks like it's part of a bigger world, not just hanging into the void, but we can do better than that. We want a gorgeous sky. There are many varieties of skyboxes out there to choose from. Some of them you can place out here in the neighborhood world, some of them you place on each lot. At this point, I don't use lot-based skyboxes, I only rely on the ones that you put on your hood, and I have linked several in my Pinterest board, so again, there's quite a lot of variety to pick from. Additionally, some horizons come with skies as well, so you can try stacking multiple of these to get different effects. This is the one I've decided I want to use for Veronoville right now. We have to place it exactly the same way we did with the horizon. I like placing everything in the same corner of the map so I can easily find it all if I need to change it, and just look at this transformation. Okay, both skies and horizons are incredible and will make your hood look fantastic with just these two items. One thing you need to keep in mind though is that these are usually super huge textures and may cause lag or pink flashing in your game. Now, as much as I love this, I don't like that the clouds are so static. This is why in my hoods, I also like placing animated clouds that sit in front of the sky. Even if they don't perfectly match the motion of the original skybox, these make the skies look a lot less like a perfect picture and more like the place is actually alive. I'll also link to these semi-transparent animated skies that you can layer with static skies to create various effects. Now, this next thing is something that I don't use in my game personally, but some of you might enjoy it and that's why I'm mentioning it. You can get sun and moon replacements and you can find these here. There are 3 options for both the sun and moon, and just like all defaults, you need to pick one of each and put it in your downloads folder. Personally, I'm okay with the max of sun and moon, but you can change these too if you prefer a more realistic look for your game. Now we have a gorgeous canvas to work with, so let's place some hood decorations. Veronoville is a rural town, so how about we decorate a little bit with some dirt roads, fields, barns, stuff like that, which will really sell the environment. I'll work on this and tell you exactly what I used in a second. Time for a hood deco montage. Let's go! Alright, confession time. I didn't have a specific plan for this hood, so I decided to wing it. Stilistically, Veronoville is probably the most architecturally consistent town of the base game hoods, and it's also, I believe, the most decorated town in general, so it's already looking much better than Pleasantview and Strangetown, at least in my opinion. It really looks like a special little world. I've just been falling in love with Veronoville lately. I mostly worked on the Monty side of things because it was super empty. I didn't strictly stick to the Italian aesthetic they have going on. This might change in the future. It's okay. I'm just playing around right now just to show you guys what you can do with hood deco. And I also started decorating the canal a bit with these retaining walls, which are also by Cricut. Yes, you need to download everything they've ever made. And while you're watching me fidget with this, I'll tell you about terraforming your hoods. Yes, you heard me. Did you know you could do that? Did you know that you could terraform hoods in The Sims 2? Yes, that's true. There is a cheat you can use to terraform in the game. Lower the terrain up and down, level it, and so on. Warning, if you're planning on using this cheat, keep in mind there is no such thing as an undo button here. You cannot undo any action you take. Like if you lower the terrain somewhere and don't like it, the only way to fix it is by playing around with the cheat even more to see if you can level the terrain as it used to be. It takes some getting used to, it's definitely not the best terraforming tool, but it's the only inbuilt game option for this as far as I'm aware, and I usually don't use it too often because again, it's kind of annoying to use. Press Ctrl Shift and C and enter Modify Neighborhood Terrain on, as it's written on the screen right now. Then whenever you click somewhere, you see this little green square. You can click and hold with your mouse to select a larger area, and if you're near a lot, the square will turn red because you can't edit the terrain unless you move away the lot. Select whatever you want to edit and use the bracket keys on your keyboard to move the terrain up and down. It's not very precise, but it is what it is, better than nothing, I guess. I did use this cheat to level the canals and the end result still wasn't flawless, so I'll probably work on it even more in the future, but I edited the river and the coastline so that the retaining walls all sit on the same height. Something I did off camera that you'll see in the screenshots in the end, but I moved all of the townhouses on the cap side of the canal and lowered the entire road and then put them back in because I didn't like how steep that side was in the end. Placing down deco houses or building in The Sims 2 is kind of like all of the rabbit holes in The Sims 3 or the background cityscapes in The Sims 4. When you load into a lot and look at the surrounding world, it looks like there's so much more to your little town than just a bunch of lots scattered about. For Veronaville here, I wanted to place more deco houses on the Monty side because there were barely any buildings in the area, so I used these, which I'm pretty sure these are Sims 4 conversions, but they match the aesthetic of this part of the hood. I put fences and hedges. These are also by cricket to separate the quote-unquote lots of these houses. You know, I wanted to make it look like there were more families around the spot. You can imagine these buildings are where all the townies live and they're not just a bunch of mysterious homeless people. Oh, and while I'm working on this, another thing you might want to try is improving the look of the lot impostors. This is basically the hood view of your actual lots, which usually look pixelated and blocky, but you can actually change this look, and you can do that if you have the RPC launcher by Lazy Duchess. I'll link the detailed explanation on their site and how you can do this. Keep in mind, this can also be very demanding in terms of performance for your computer. Personally, I keep my lot impostors as they are at the moment. I don't mind it too much, but if you try this, it will surely improve the overall look of your hoods. So anyways, I started building the main part of the canal, but beyond the bridge, I wanted the river to have a more natural appearance. I didn't want the retaining walls to span across the entire map. And to achieve this look, I used these amazing placeable cliffs. These are so good and I wish we had more hood deco like this, just large objects that can be used to create more intricate landscapes. One thing I usually do with these is I use extra vegetation around the edges to smooth the rough transition between the deco cliffs and the real terrain. For this purpose, I also use these placeable flat grass decals. This download is great because these come in many patterns and textures that can be combined to create various effects. Another download I also love are these gorgeous fields. These are seasonal and they're visible from lot view unlike the Maxis fields. I used only the sunflowers and another type here, but there are more in the download link provided. Another way you can fill the gaps between buildings is by placing parking lots. Every city has them basically, and it absolutely makes sense to have them all over the place. I recently found these, and I think these are converted from city skylines. They just look great. You can place them over another flat surface such as concrete, but there's also an alternative way to place parking lots in your hoods. I used to use these lots a lot. These are normal lots you just place in your hoods and they look excellent next to other community lots. And while I'm still building here and you're watching the hood transformation in progress, I want to give you guys just a few detailing tips that I personally use whenever I'm decorating my Sims 2 towns. Tip number 1 is to think of this as a city building game. The Sims 2 is a life simulator, but if you want to have an immersive environment that makes you feel like your families live in a town, not just in a plain field with houses scattered about, you have to approach this game a little bit differently sometimes. This, of course, is not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Every Sims 2 player plays the game differently, and that's okay. Personally, other than The Sims, I also play a lot of city skylines, Minecraft, and strategy games with economy and building mechanics, so to me this is just very entertaining and I love doing it. And playing other games has given me many ideas on how to enjoy The Sims 2 differently than I would if I just relied on the in-game mechanics to guide me, so I definitely also also suggest branch out. If you're someone who only plays The Sims 2 all the time, or just any other installment of The Sims and this is all you ever stick to, it's really worth branching out sometimes because you really don't know what else you're going to find out there that you're going to fall in love with. Okay, my second tip is don't be afraid to go into extreme detail. Unless you're scared that your PC is going to explode from placing thousands of deco objects, put as many as you can, okay? Put as many as you can to make things look realistic. For Veronaville here, I placed street lights, signs, trash cans, benches, and this is just the start of it. I could go on and on revisiting each corner because I think that with enough effort, every section of the map can become something worth looking at. My third and last tip is to use tons of plants. Place vegetation everywhere. I mean, not all cities have tons of greenery all over the place, but as a European, I get offended at the thought of a street without trees and a town without a decent park area. When I was decorating the canal here at Veronaville, for instance, I thought to myself, I want to make this look like a park area that Sims will enjoy taking daily walks around here. And it turned out to be just the kind of place that I would love to visit too. Okay, I've placed a ton of hood deco and now it's time to actually hop into a lot and see how the world looks like when you're actually playing with a family. Here we are with the main Monty family, and as you can already see, some of our hood deco items are overlapping our lot. I placed these bushes and hedges here, and technically Sims can walk through them. I'm not going to leave this as is, this is just to demonstrate how this works for the walkthrough, but if you want this hedge to stay like this, I suggest using an invisible fence that will prevent Sims from walking directly through the bushes. But let's take a look at the surrounding area, and oh my gosh, just look at this beauty, it's stunning! We have the decorative buildings, the small town in the distance, the farming areas, and behind the house we have these deco objects that look like they're situated in the family's backyard. So you can imagine they can go out and sit on the bench near the fountain and enjoy their gorgeous surroundings. Oh, one last thing before I reveal the final photos, and this is very important, okay? You need to tweak your game's graphics if you want to see your hood deco like I am seeing it right now. This is what we're looking at right here in the lot view tab specifically. Just copy my settings basically. Set your view distance to extra large, turn neighbors on to see all the other houses and community lots, otherwise they'll be hidden and that's just very sad and lonely looking. I like clickable neighbors on so that I can switch houses without having to go to the hood, basically skipping one loading screen. You must have the decorations on of course, otherwise all the hood deco will be hidden, so then what's the point of all of your efforts? And turn the fade distance off. This will prevent hood deco objects from disappearing if you zoom in close to them. And this is it! Now you know exactly how I set up my hoods and what I use to make my game to look the way it does. After I recorded this, I switched my default grass and road textures to Cricket's Rural Charm Set, which I showed to you in the beginning, and I'm absolutely in love. I think it's perfect for Veronaville, and I'll probably be keeping these textures from now on. What you're seeing right now are screenshots from what I've done so far. These are completely unedited. This is exactly how the town looks like in-game, and it's so charming. I'm in love with this atmosphere, and I hope you are too. Check out the description for links to the stuff I'm using and leave your comments below. I love hearing from you guys. Let me know what you think about this. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I'll see you soon with another Sims 2 video. Bye!